Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be talking about a product. This is one of my favorite products to use if you live in a condo or if you're on the go, going to a car show and your car gets all gunked up from dead bugs or even like the road grime or even like driving through an area that has sprinklers where there's water on the floor and it gets splashed up on the side of your car. This is one of the products I like to use if you don't have a readily accessible car wash. I'm gonna rinse this up and I'll show you guys exactly how much I put into this bucket, and I will be bringing a second bucket with me because it's gonna be acting as my rinse bucket. This is not a common method, but this is something that I would use only to take precautions on preventing reintroducing swirl marks or even marring to your paint. And I'll say this multiple times throughout the video, you're never gonna prevent scratching your car. It's gonna happen, but you want to minimize it. That's the key thing. You want to minimize the amount of possibility of it you introducing marring or scratching to your paint. So I'm gonna rinse both buckets out and then I'll pour the solution in. So while that fills up, I'm gonna let it fill up to about maybe like 5 gallons. And what I like about this bucket is that it has a gamma seal. So as you can see right here, so if you're going to be driving to a automatic car wash and you want to pre-fill your buckets with soap so you don't have to do it at the car wash, buckets like this and like this, they have gamma seals. This is something that's good so you can kind of close up your buckets so you don't really have to worry about it splashing or tilting over and getting all over your seats or your carpeting or your trunk. So definitely buckets you should definitely get if you're a car enthusiast that want to wash your own car. So I have about approximately 5 gallons of water here. This solution here, what you want to do is each capful is 1 ounce. So you want to put 1 ounce for every 2 gallons. So I have 5, so I'm going to eyeball it. I'm going to put 2.5 capfuls of this into the solution. And when we get downstairs, I'll show you exactly what this does and I'll explain a little bit later. So I have my solution bucket and also a rinse bucket. The rinse bucket is not necessarily needed. I just feel for myself, I'm able to rinse my towels in there that I'm going to be using along with some of the clean water, so all the sediments that gets into the towel that I'm going to be using, and it has a more possibility of falling off into that bucket before I re-dip it into the solution bucket. And the reason why I call it a solution bucket because this is technically not soap. This is a solution, and what's good about this solution is it has polymers. So polymers that encapsulate dust particles or even contaminants that are left onto your paint. There are some more methods that I can tell you guys when we go downstairs to do this. I know this is a good method for you guys that you live in a condo, that water is not readily accessible. So for example, if you live in a state where there's a drought and there's no water or water is very limited, and there may be orders where you can't be washing your car or you can't be watering your lawn, things like that. This is definitely a product you could use to get your car all dialed in or washed. And as you can see, I've used this probably for the past 1.5 to 2 years, and I haven't really used it too much, so that's how much that's left. So a bottle like that should last you for a few years, unless you live in a condo where that's your only purpose, then it may last you a couple months, depending on how often you wash your car and stuff. So I have that solution all here. I'm gonna mix it up. And the way I could describe it, it smells pretty good. It smells like freaking candy. All right, so this is filled up with the solution. And technically it should have the perfect ratio, like I said. I'm gonna leave this in here. I'm gonna seal this thing up. And then I'm gonna go to my Adams Polishes wash bucket. In this one, like I said, I have a grit guard in there already. And obviously it's supposed to be the other way around. I will do that, but I'm gonna rinse it out because I've used this to wash my car last weekend. So what I'm gonna be using is 3 waffle weave towels. I'm gonna put it into the solution, let it soak in there. Take this cap off. And I'm just gonna cover this whole thing where a lot of the solution is gonna make it start beading off. So when it beads off, that means I know it's soaked with it. And I like doing this method too because it's another layer of protection, another layer of precaution. And plus, this stuff is so cheap that it doesn't really matter. I would definitely use it. And I'm gonna fold it as is. But now that the solution is soaked and a lot of the dust and particles are encapsulated by the solution, I'm gonna take the towel and wipe it down. And you generally, I know there's other people that say you don't need to go in straight line motions, but I do anyway, just my method. And you can look at that. It's pretty predominant. You can see all the dust and grime here. So once that layer is done, I'm gonna go out to this side of the towel and flip it. And as you take the towel, you can roll it up. So as you roll it up, again, all the dirt everywhere. So now both layers are done on this side. I'm gonna flip the towel. And I have multiple layers here. And there's really nothing better than washing your car the old-fashioned way. But I know, like, I've received a couple DMs, hey, do you recommend any products that I could use to clean my car? This is a method you could use to clean your car when you're living in a condo or a co-op or a place where there's water restrictions. If your car is extremely dirty, not like this, like a light dusting, I probably wouldn't do this method. I'd probably rinse it off first. And when I mean rinse it off, I'd rather go to like a self car wash and just use the water and rinse it off with a pressure washer. That'd be a good method to do, a preventive measure. So I'm gonna take this towel that I've used, soak it into my rinse bucket and kind of like get all the sediments off of it. And then take the other one I have inside the bucket that's soaking, throw it into the solution bucket. And that way, I know it's gonna be somewhat decent or better than what it was to continue with the method. So while that soaks up there, I'm gonna take my bead maker, spray it onto the top of the car. And you don't need a lot, but I like to use a lot anyway. You might be seeing this and might be thinking like, I've seen this done a different way. But to be honest, there's so many different ways of cleaning your car. There's no one right method, but there is a lot of methods where you can do it wrong. I've been detailing my car for quite a while and I like it and I do a lot of research on it. This works for me. If you guys are in the South Florida region and you want to see how my paint is, definitely check it out. I think it's on par. It's pretty good. It's pretty legit. I have a lot of people that ask me if my car is ceramic coated. I tell them it's not, and they get surprised. So like I said, this method is really more for people that can't access the water easily, or they live in a condo or apartment, or water restrictions. So I recommend definitely using this method. And generally you want to start with the top first of the car, then work your way onto the side of the doors. I'm going to start working with the doors to get that done and show you that method real quick. And hear me out, the car may look clean, but it's not. There's a light coating of dust on it, so I recommend using this method only when the car needs a little bit of a kind of like a detail spray, but you're more into not using detail spray because you have time to kind of like go with this method. So what you want to do is use the solution you have in the bottle and spray it onto the paint to a point where it's beading off. So for example, check this out. And the reason why you want to use a lot is because what it does, it encapsulates the dust. Like I said earlier, So what you want to do is take the towel out of there, squeeze it, don't let it go dry. So you kind of want to have it a little bit damp, and you're going to use it in methods. For example, this towel here is an Adams Polishes waffle weave towel, and it has multiple pockets. So there's multiple layers inside to the towel. So check this out. So this is the first layer. And you can see here, there's dust right over here. So I'm gonna flip the towel to the other side and show you guys. And hopefully you can see that there's a layer of dust right over here. And this is dust from like all the construction that's being done downtown. A lot of that comes into the parking garage. Every time you do a wipe, you would flip it so you have multiple sides. All that dust right over here, flip it again, and flip it here. Normally the bottom portion of the car, like towards the side skirt and also the bottom portion of the door, are the most dirtiest portions of the car, so definitely be cautious of that. And then once both sides are done on that portion of the towel, you want to flip it inside out. So now essentially you have more sides. And what I like to do too is go again onto that same surface, making sure I got everything off. So one side there, flip it around, flip it around. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw this into my rinse bucket. And I'm gonna agitate it in the bucket. Just squeeze some of the dust off of it. There's a sponge you could do. I'm not a big fan of the sponge, only because it just seems bulky. And this way I have this towel soaking in the water where a lot of the sediments could come off of it and go down to the bottom. So I'm gonna leave that soaking in the bucket. So essentially once that's all done, this door is essentially, you would think clean. I hope it's clean. What I'm gonna use is, this is not Adams Polishes, this is not Yeti, I just put a sticker on there. I'm gonna spray the door with some PNS bead maker, and this is my drying agent. And the drying agent, what's good for this drying agent, it's more for providing another layer of protection and also providing some lubrication from your towel onto the paint. And this is just a microfiber drying towel I have. All right, so the next portion of the car I'm gonna be doing is this portion right here. And again, I wanna basically spray the solution on there to a point where it's kind of beading off. And hopefully when it beads off, a lot of the dust and contaminants that are on the paint come off of it. And this is extremely relaxing to me. And if you guys watch some of my other videos, I've said this in other videos, the most dirtiest portion is the bottom portion of the car. So I'm taking another towel out of here. So I said earlier, I had this soak in the bucket for quite a while. I'm gonna take it out, and it looks pretty clean. So it looks pretty clean. So I'm gonna dump it back into this bucket. And I'm gonna take the other one that's soaking in there, that's been there for actually quite a while. Take it out. Gonna fold my towels in those in that way, so I have multiple layers. All that dust right over here. See all that dust right here? It's pretty dirty. And then I'm gonna do another layer of wiping, making sure I got everything off of it. All that dirty towel, I'm gonna throw it back into the bucket. And just like agitate it in the bucket, squeeze it out, and then just leave it soaking right there. Hopefully all the sediments goes to the bottom again, and I can use it in a little bit. So I'm gonna take my bead maker, spray the window, 2 squirts there. I'm gonna spray this area. Wipe things out. I love this stuff. This stuff smells so good. A little backstory too, we've been busy with the BMW invasion. We've been planning our event in Texas, so this video may come out after we have our event in Texas. I have a few videos I have backlogged that I'm working on editing too. We actually just visited Active Auto Work yesterday, which is why the car is kind of dusty from all that driving, and the warehouse at Active Auto Work. If you haven't really seen the warehouse, it's pretty much in an industrial area, and there's a lot of construction going on and businesses that does a lot of that type of industry. So it does get a little dusty there. So that portion of the door is done. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start on top, go with the top portion of the trunk and work my way down. I'm gonna spray the solution on there. I'm gonna soak it on there because, like I said, this is the most dirtiest portion of the car. So we'll get started. So what you're gonna do is just spraying onto the paint. As you can see, the layer of protection I have on top of the paint already, it's already beating a lot of the water and solution I have off of it. So that's a good telltale sign that whatever I had on it is working properly. So what's good about this method, you could use this definitely during the springtime when all the pollen's coming out. You're gonna notice you're gonna have like a green pollen or yellow pollen depending on where you are. It's gonna be all over your paint, especially after you freshly washed it and your car's been parked for a few days. This might be a good solution for you to use if you don't want to full-blown wash the car. As you can see, all that dirt here. As you can see, I like using a lot. But I will say, if you're allowed to wash your car in your parking garage or at your house, do it that way. This is another solution for you to use. I know I said the word solution a lot because we're talking about solution, we're talking about this solution. It's another method. So use that in your arsenal and let me know if this works for you. Let me know what your opinions about it is. I know I was skeptical in the beginning about these polymers and stuff, but to be honest, I haven't paint corrected my car since I bought the car, and it is spot on. There's maybe a few spots where I have very like fine light scratches, and it's really not that bad. So the last portion of the car is going to be the hood of the car and also the windshield. That's all dirty. That's all dirty from all the dripping water too. Let me wipe that windshield for you guys. So again, you want to soak the hood of the car, the paint wise, so a lot of the dust gets off of it. So I don't have to worry too much about the front, only because I already have paint protection film on it. So I can still go a little bit liberally and just wipe as I please because it is protected by that layer of film.